Now let's continue with the same example that we have, and if we scroll down, you will notice that within the embedded website, so when we loaded the website as the local host, when we loaded the website with the forged request, we have an extra link in here that will direct us to the admin panel. So in the original website, you can see we only have home and my account. But if you scroll down and look at the website that we loaded when we sent the forged request, so when we did this right here, you'll notice we actually have an extra link that will take us to the admin panel. If we click on this link right here and actually turn off our interceptor so we can go to it, you'll notice that the website is not gonna load. Now the error that we're getting is very informative, so it's telling us that this page will only load if you're logged in as admin or if requested from the loopback, so if you request it as local host. But generally, you won't get an error message that is this informative, but if you clicked on a link and it didn't load and you were able to discover it using a server-side request forgery vulnerability, then it's actually worth a shot to actually get the server to submit that link on your behalf. So basically exploit the SSRF again to load whatever link you want. Because similar to what I showed you earlier, if you have a server similar to this one that contains private data, it might actually refuse direct connections to it. But what we can do, since we know that this server is vulnerable to a server-side request forgery, is send that request to the server and get the server to submit it on our behalf. And because the server trusts this server, it'll actually load it to the server and we will be able to see it because we are exploiting a server-side request forgery. So we're going to turn on our interceptor. We're going to send a request to check the stock. We're going to get it to load the local host instead. Similar to what we did in the previous example, we're going to forward it. And now we have the admin panel, but we're actually not going to click on it. We're going to copy its link and then submit another request to the stock checker. Now you could obviously do this with a repeater, but I'm just trying to keep it simple in here. And then again, we're going to go back to the stock API and we're going to modify this request in here to the URL that we just copied in here for the admin panel. So if you even just hover over this, you can see that the admin panel is stored at /admin. So we're simply just going to go to http localhost /admin. And we're going to have to URL encode all of this. So you can right click and convert it or simply press Ctrl U at the same time from your keyboard. And that's it. We're going to forward. And perfect. Now, as you can see, we managed to load the admin page in here without even having to log in, because what's happening is this server is actually the server that is loading the admin page. So you can think of this similar to what we have to this example in here, but instead of loading /private, we're loading /admin. As you saw earlier, if you submit that request as yourself, you will be denied that request because that server has a firewall or has some strict security rules that prevent it from loading to anybody else other than this web server. But when we managed to exploit this web server and get this web server to actually load the admin page, it loaded for this server, and because the server is vulnerable, we're able to see the admin page loading within the vulnerable web server, as you can see in here, and we can actually use this page. So as you can see, this admin page doesn't really have a lot of functionality. It only allows you to delete users, but in a real world scenario, you'll be able to use whatever functionality that this admin page offers. Now, similar to what happened when we clicked on the admin panel and it did not load, any functionality that you see in here will not work directly from your browser, because remember, any request you send to that server will be denied. You will have to forge a request so that the web server submits that request on your behalf. For example, if I wanted to delete the user Carlos or Wiener in here, I can't send that request as is. I'm going to have to right click, copy the link address, and then make sure my interceptor is on, click on check stock again or use the repeater like I said earlier, remove everything that I have in here, paste the URL that I copied, and make sure I change the domain in here to localhost, as we said earlier, so we're getting the server to submit this request to itself. And make sure we URL encode all of this, Control U, and then send it. And now notice once we send it, the user Carlos should disappear. So let's go ahead and send it. Now it's telling us it could not fetch stock level, but that's fine. Let's go ahead and load the page again to see if Carlos did actually get removed. So we're just going to do localhost, admin, URL encoded, and send it. And perfect. As you can see, it's telling us that the user was deleted successfully and Carlos is deleted and we can only see Wiener. So we basically first of all managed to communicate with a server that we're not supposed to communicate with because it's got security. We also managed to load a page that we're not supposed to see. And we even managed to delete a user that is stored on the server. And all of that was possible because we're actually sending forged requests and getting a web server that is trusted by the target server to submit these requests on our behalf.